Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. My motto is, Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I'd like to talk with you on the subject matter, the truth about ourselves. You see, I want to help us as a people, but I have learned that in order for any success in this endeavor, I gotta really be honest with you, more honest than I've been before. In other words, I gotta tell you the absolute truth. And you've heard it said that the truth usually hurts. So if you are listening and you can understand and accept the truth, it probably will hurt you a bit. But I'm asking that you bear it, that you just don't flip the video off. Your questions will be answered. Last night, I had the opportunity to witness a presidential debate by the Republican Party in South Carolina. And what I saw on that stage was absolutely sickening. I saw a bunch of warmongers right there on that stage. I saw people who wanted to cut any type of benefit that have been designated for those who suffer the most, and don't want to raise one penny from taxes. I even saw those on the stage who didn't want people to have health care, want to cut out all of the protection regulations that have been set forth to protect the people, want to cut it all out, and yet are willing to go into $1 trillion debt or more to fight a war that is not even necessary. And you know what? I saw people out there in the audience applauding these efforts and these promises and these visions. I saw a man on stage who has been identified as one who liked to exploit women. And I saw an audience who didn't even want that question discussed, who moaned and groaned when it was brought up and applauded. I saw a man up there who had no respect for women, who get amongst reporters and laugh at people who have brought charges against him and who brought charges against other people. And I see part of the population out there that's excited because this man is raising more money. The more questions he gets, the more money is raised. And why do they applaud him? And you know that if it were one iota of information given out about the other party, and these people who are applauding this particular candidate wouldn't find a decent word anywhere to say about the candidate of another party. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the truth about ourselves. We as a people are a most despicable people. We as a people are liars. We are cheaters. We are murderers. We are the worst of all humankind. Those that we have looked back at in history and thought that they were despicable, we are not even at their hem. We are much, much worse. And I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about us as Americans. But I'm not just talking about us as Americans. I'm talking about us as human beings in 7 continents on the earth. We are all the same. We are murderers, and we are liars, and we hate. And in order for me to be able to say that to you, ladies and gentlemen, I know, I have learned that the influence that permeates our thinking and drives us and unfolds us and causes us to be presented in the way that we are is because we're being led by that same spirit of hate, that same spirit of murder and filth. When I say that, I'm talking about from our president, I'm talking about our Justice Department, I'm talking about our U.S. Congress, I'm talking about our governors, I'm talking about our mayors, our state legislators, and our city councils. I'm talking about our organizations that supposedly are designed to help people. I'm talking about people who work in them. I'm talking about people who suffer. We are despicable. We are the filth of the earth. And if there's any innocence here, it is born by the babies. And give them enough chance to grow, and they will be filling our shoes. Murderers, liars, and cheaters, haters. That's what we are. That's the truth. Oh, we don't present ourselves that way. We tell ourselves that we are wonderful, loving people. Let a storm come, and we'll be out there in a minute saying we're trying to help somebody. But let that help be needed longer than 2 weeks, and we start dwindling away. We say we care about people. There's hunger in our country. Yes, we will lower down our food shelters, food shelves. But will we entertain getting rid of that which causes us to be hungry? Heck no. Why? Because this is the stuff that we are made of. This is the stuff which we strive on. I'm saying it to you, ladies and gentlemen, because I love you. And the last man that I know of who loved you enough to tell you the truth was Dr. Martin Luther King, and he was murdered. And those that walk with Dr. Martin Luther King, they can't even touch his garment. Every last one of them, cowards, murderers, haters. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, even I, a coward, murderer, hater. But I wasn't always. I grew up as a child and I got the message of Jesus. I know many of you don't believe in Jesus, though you fill churches every day. You don't believe in that stuff, but I did. And I wanted to be like Jesus. I reached out to love. I used to protect people. As I was growing up in school, whenever I saw a bully, and you know there are many bullies out there. Bullies like to pick on people who don't have courage. Bullies like to pick on people that they think they can beat up to show off. And I used to see it all the time, but whenever I saw it, I stood in their stead. One day, as a young man riding on a bus in the streets of Chicago, on Jackson Street, West Side, we passed by a project. And in that project, I saw several young boys attacking a single individual. And they were beating him, kicking him, and beating him with baseball bats. And people had gathered around. And in that crowd, there was only one man, an old man, that was trying to stop them. And they kept telling, "Get back, old man, before we do it to you." And as I rode that bus, I jumped up and ready to get off that bus and go out there and do anything I could to help that person that was being beaten. But the people on the bus said, "Young man, don't go out there. They're going to hurt you." The bus driver wouldn't open the door. And I stood there and I listened to it. And having listened to it, I decided that that was probably the best move to make. And I took a seat. That was the beginning of my cowardice. I have been out here for 33 years, and I've never told you the truth like this. I've never told you that you were an enemy to God, every last one of you. Those of you who go to church, you're an enemy to God. You're a liar. You are a murderer. Those who are up in the pulpit preaching, you are filth. You are a murderer. You are a liar, a disgrace to God, every last one of you. And I'm telling you this now, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm not a coward now. I'm claiming back my courage. And I'm going to tell you who you are, because I know who you are. I have been one of you. Now, how do I know that you are a liar? How do I know that you are so filled with hate? For 33 years, ladies and gentlemen, I have walked these streets in this city and across this country. I've traveled with no money, just begging to get from one state to another, to tell you the truth that I have learned, the truth of freedom. I have written it in pamphlets, in booklets, put it in CDs, DVDs, gone on radios for a couple of years, in cable access. I have even had enough gumption to run for public office as I lift up. What do I lift up? Peace for everybody, prosperity for everybody, joy for everybody, careers of choice, education, health care for everyone. At a time when gas prices are going up, people have lost their homes, banks have robbed them and are continuously robbing them. And I stand up, I think, courageously. And I tell you that these things do not have to exist. They can change. All you have to do is want them to change and make the decision that you're willing to employ yourself toward bringing about that change. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, after 33 years, After all of the churches in this country, all of the preachers in this country, all of the people talking about love, my nation better than your nation, my political party better than your political, all of it, for 33 years, those things that I have advocated, because in my heart I know there's not a single one of you that gets sick and don't want health care. I know that there's not a single one of you that want to live in the cold. I know that there's not a single one of you that gets hungry and don't want to eat. I know that there's not a single one of you who have nothing to contribute. You want to contribute. You want to participate in the success of life. I know that there is not one of you who want pain and suffering and guilt for yourself. But you don't care about it for others. And not caring about it for others, you keep yourselves divided. And so for these 33 years that I've advocated for these things, not one of you have stood with it. Not one of you have supported it. When I ran for public office, for mayor, walking the streets with poor people, people who were having their welfare threatened, people who were living under bridges. And when the election came around, they said they couldn't support what I just told you about. They rather supported someone else who has continuously given you what you have today, because they say, I didn't stand a chance of winning. No, I didn't stand a chance of winning, because I was the only one out here for peace. I was the only one out here for the things that I've mentioned to you. And so I'm telling you today, ladies and gentlemen, you out here, you have had a Republican for 8 years. And half of the world, half of the nation knows exactly what you got was junk. You switched around because you were fed with that junk, and you brought in the Democrats. And you've had 3 years of whooping by that Democrat. And what are you looking for tomorrow? Which party will you put in, Republican or Democrat? Not only are you a liar, not only are you a cheater, not only are you a murderer, not only are you ignorant, stupid, but you're foolish. And I'm telling you this, ladies and gentlemen, because being all the things that I've just mentioned about you, the only interest I have here is to try to see if I can save you, bring you around. And if I can't do that, you have nothing I want. Nothing. This body, you can have it back. Let it turn to dust and plant you some tomatoes in it. Maybe that'll do you some good. But I believe, without a doubt, that there is a God. I'm not evolutionized from a monkey. I don't live on a planet that came from a big bang. I live because there's a creator, God, that I know of. And that God is a loving God. That's why I exist. And the reason you exist is so you can experience that love, but you are turning your back on it. You say, can't blame you. You were raised in it. How can you know better? You know better because people like Gandhi. You know better because of people like Jesus. You know better because of people like Dr. King. And though they're gone, you have the opportunity to know better because of people like me. And yet, nobody invites me to come to their organization and speak. Nobody invites me to come to a church and speak. Nobody at the United Nations invites me, though I've been corresponding with them over the years. Nobody in Washington or Congress or any of the facilities of government invite me. No one at the radio stations invite me to articulate the message that I'm sharing with you. Nobody at the TV stations invite me. Nobody on the newspapers want to write about this message that I have for you. Nobody want to have anything with it. They act like it's something that's to be put in a toilet and flushed down the commode. And so I can stand here and tell you that when it comes down to peace for you, when it comes down to prosperity for you, when it comes down for health care for you, when it comes down to having careers of choice, when it comes down to living and having life for you, nobody cares but me. Nobody cares but me. And what am I saying? I'm saying I care more for you than you care about yourselves. And why? Because you're filled with hate. You're filled with lies. And you can't see. I told you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. I've given it to you. Now take a big breath. And I'm going to say this to you. Is there any candidate that's running for office that has indicated any interest for all of the people as I have here just this moment? Not a single one, if you would be truthful. Has Barack Obama, the present President of the United States, ever articulated such a measure, such a vision as this, and asked you to help cause it to be? Not once. And yet, I have. And let me ask you this. Let me ask you that $6,400 million question. Who of you, who amongst you want it? Not a single one. You want it for yourselves, but you don't want it for anyone else. That makes you a liar, a cheater, a murderer. And for that, I have to say this because there are those out there championing themselves who want to talk about love. And they are nothing but wolves in sheep's clothing, hiding behind a book that says yes and no to the same question, a book half truths and half lies, and the people accept them both as being the gospel, causing nothing but confusion. But a man, a woman, or a child of truth cannot be deceived forever. You don't have to be deceived forever. But at this present moment, right now, as you're listening to this video, you are a liar, you are a cheat, you are a murderer, and you are an instrument of hell. I tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, because I want you to change. But you probably won't. But it won't be because you didn't get an invite. And the next time, if there is another time, bye-bye.